about Eddie that you learned during your research that like still pops into your mind today, where you're like, oh?
He did a lot of very bizarre things. It was, you know, the things that I learned about him that were the most helpful and felt like the most kind of eureka moments actually were the relatable things, like understanding how he got off onto this path. I mean, excuse me, Eddie certainly killed some people and tragically and, you know, sort of terrible crimes, but primarily he was a grave robber. And that started when his mother died and he missed her so much that he couldn't live without her. So after she'd been dead for 2 years, he came to the graveyard and dig her up to bring her home. And that understanding that that was the sort of his first sin, that was the original sin, that was his first crime, really, I don't want to humanize it. You have to be very careful about the language you use because, you know, certainly my job was not to vilify him and certainly not to absolve him of his crimes. It was to understand him. And I didn't want to humanize him to humanize a monster, but what we were trying to do was say that, you know, what was it? What are the things, how in society do we create these people collectively? What are the sins of ours collectively? And there was a lot of stuff that felt really, really relevant. Our abdication of our responsibility to the mentally ill, you know, isolation in society that's spiraling out of control, exposure to images that are very difficult and toxic for the human brain to process, all abuse. All of these things were the catalysts for Ed to do what he did, and they all felt so relevant and so valuable for us to explore and say, like, listen, Ed is a really extreme case, but these are the consequences of these type of exposure to these type of, you know, narratives. And so it felt in that way, in the tradition of storytelling, actually really serving a function in society to reflect back of us. Like Picasso said, like, art is the lie that reveals the truth. We have to face these things in order, hopefully, not to perpetuate them. And so when, you know, I think that sometimes Ryan within this franchise can be accused of glorifying these things, these darker parts of society. I think it's the absolute opposite. I think he's illuminating these things with the hope that we won't perpetuate them moving forward.
You're right, and I totally agree.